Hey everyone, this is Max at MaxCTCG. Thanks for joining me in another video. So in this video, we're going over the Gimmick Puppet support and showing some of the combos and the deck template that I have set up for the deck. Just let me know what you guys think and if you're excited for this new deck. We'll go through a few different combos that you can pull off, and there's quite a few different variations to pull off the FTK and ways to play through different hand traps. I'm going to just show the one card starter FTK that's using the field spell. But I'll also link to a video Yassine made with quite a few variations of the combo and how to play, with different cards and how to play through different hand traps. If you want to see, more extensive ways to play, with the FTK. But this one will just give you the gist of how the FTK works. So what we're going to do is we'll start with activating the field spell. That's going to be able to get us Little Soldiers. Little Soldiers against one of our other starters. We can normal summon this and send a Gimmick Puppet from deck to graveyard for cost. That is going to send the Bloody Dowel. Bloody Dowel, because it was sent to grave, can add itself to hand. Now Bloody Dowel can activate. We're going to reveal the Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. That's going to let us special summon Bloody Dowel and a level 8 Gimmick Puppet from our deck because it's the same rank as the monster we revealed. So we're going to summon the Cattle Scream because it's a nice way to get recursive body on the field from grave. And we have 3 level 8s on field, and again, none of our Gimmick Puppets can be affected by monsters that are non-XYZ monster effects. So what we're going to do is go into the Fanatix Makina. On summon, you can add a rank up spell from deck to hand, and it also gives you an extra normal summon as well while on field. What we're going to do is use the rank up spell and rank up the Makina. That's going to summon the Gimmick Puppet Dark Strings. What we're going to use the Cattle Stream to detach the Makina, so it's in the graveyard for Cattle Stream, and now we still have 8 and 8. For this. Now we can go into the Gimmick Puppet of Strings. We're going to use the rank up spell to add itself back to hand. When I rank 5 or higher XYZ monster special into the field, while this card's in the grave, you can add it to your hand. We're going to use the Gimmick Puppet of Strings. In fact, we're going to detach a card and place a string counter on each face of monster on the field. So it's going to be our C40 Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings. And then we're going to use our rank up spell. We're going to rank up the Dark Strings into a second version of our C40. Now this is on summon. It has an effect that when special summoned, it destroys as many monsters with string counters as possible. You get to draw a card and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among those destroyed. If it's a tie, you get to choose. So we're going to destroy our own C40. And we're also going to chain the Makina Fanatix in graveyard. Has a ability to special summon this card from grave when you special summon a Gimmick Puppet XYZ monster. It'll summon itself out. That also lets us get the ritual spell back by special summoning this monster. We're gonna burn our opponent for 3,300, which is pretty big, and then we get to draw an extra card. From here, what we're gonna do is use the field spell. We get to detach and exceed from one of our monsters to summon a monster to our opponent's field. We're going to give them the Dark Strings. Dark Strings always triggers on summon, but we don't have any string counters, so we're good. And then we're going to link summon our 2 monsters. This is going to give us the Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll. And now during the main phase, if you control this link summon card, you can activate this effect. We are locked into Gimmick Puppets, but it's not a problem. And we can take one Gimmick Puppet monster from our deck and either add it to our hand or send it to the grave. And then if all monsters you control are Gimmick Puppets, you can special one Gimmick Puppet from your hand. That doesn't really matter because we're going to go for the Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby, and this only works on normal summons, so we're not special summoning. So we're going to be able to normal summon this out because we actually haven't normal summoned yet. We can use Gimmick Puppet Baby's effect, grab the Bloody Dowel, summon it to the field, and then we're going to use the Little Soldiers in grave. We're going to banish it. That will then let us make the Terror Baby into a 8, so now we can exceed summon. So we're going to exceed summon into the Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, and then we're going to use the Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. That's going to let us destroy the Dark Strings exceed monster we give our opponent, and we're going to be able to inflict damage equal to its original attack. We get another 3,300. What we're going to do is just banish the Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby, just to make it so your opponent can't activate card effects in response to the activation of Gimmick Puppet monsters. Then we use the rank up spell to rank up our Giant Grinder. We're going to go into Chaos version of the Fanatix Makina. We're going to be able to search our Servist puppet trap, because that's what happens when we special summon this card. We get to search our puppet trap card from our deck. Then what we're going to do is we're going to detach a material, give our opponent the Dark Strings again. Dark Strings is going to always trigger on summon to be able to destroy monsters if they have string counters, which you don't have. And then what we can do is whenever a monster is special summoned, you can target one of them, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. And then we're going to burn our opponent for 1650. And that concludes the FTK for the Gimmick Puppet deck. So the deck is pretty tricky to play. It does have a lot of nuances with the way you have to activate cards. It's not the most straightforward combo. So definitely would practice it, especially if you want to get really good at learning all the different variations to pull off the FTK between different hands and everything, especially if you don't start with a field spell and you could be potentially weak to hand traps. So now what I'm going to do is show just a couple combos again that you can do if you, one, don't open up the field spell for the FTK, and some ways to potentially play around some different cards. Now the deck does get really hurt by To Droll with a lot of combos, so that's going to be a weakness of the deck, but there is a way to do a pretty decent combo. That's a 1-card play that gives you 2 interruptions, with the ability to be able to play around Nibiru. I'm going to use the Condolence Puppet, and all we really need is a way to send our Bloody Dowel to the graveyard to get it to hand. So either we need to start with it or be able to send it to grave to get it back. I'm going to activate Condolence Puppet, which is really good going second, because it actually has a bonus effect to be even better sending multiple monsters to the grave going second, up to the amount of summon monsters from the extra deck your opponent controls. But even going first, we get to at least send 1. So it's pretty much an in-themed Foolish Burial. We're going to get the Bloody Dowel back to hand. Bloody Dowel is going to activate, and in this case, we're actually revealing the rank 4 Exceed, because we want to get access to Little Soldiers, which is the whole reason we're playing this card. So I'm going to summon Little Soldiers and the Bloody Dowel. Little Soldier is going to activate, and that's going to send the Gimmick Puppet Bystials. So this is nice because it makes it where in grave we can actually banish this card, and your opponent cannot target Gimmick Puppet monsters control card effects. So we can still get nibbed, but we're not going to be able to get hit with like an infinite impermanence or anything at this point, or effect failure. Now ideally they should use it on the Little Soldiers. I'm going to show a way to play through one hand trap in the next combo that we'll show after this. So we're going to banish that so we're safe. We'll go into the Fanatix Makina, get the rank up spell, use the rank up spell, and then we will go into the Fanatix Makina Chaos version. We're going to use its effect on summon to get the Servist Puppet, and then what we're going to do is actually banish the Condolence Puppet from grave. It has an effect that you can banish this from the grave, target a machine Exceed you control, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while face up on the field. So this is a permanent destruction effect protection, which is really nice. And we have now 2 forms of interaction on the opponent's turn. So if a monster special summons to your opponent's field, and it's by any way, not even if they special summon it, so even if you special summon monsters to their field, similar to how Princesses worded, you can target one of them, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. And then we also have the Servist Puppet as another interruption. You can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Gimmick Puppet XYZ monsters you control, take control of them to the end phase. So we have a pop and burn on top of the fact that we have a steal. So this is pretty nice, especially even just playing it at a time. Your opponent special summons anything, they get burned, and it's going to make it very hard to play. This is a lot of attack. They can't destroy it with card effects. It's going to be hard to beat over, and you also have a steal card plus 4 cards in hand. So in this combo, it's still a 1-card combo, and we're just going to show what happens if you play through like an effect negation. So we're going to use the Condolence Puppet. That's going to get us Bloody Dowel to grave. Bloody Dowel is going to come back to hand. I'm going to activate Bloody Dowel, reveal the rank 4, summon the Little Soldiers and the Bloody Dowel. Again, the Little Soldiers sends for cost, so they won't be able to ash this to stop it. So I'm going to send our monster, and at this point it is pretty important to imperm here, just to keep this from being level 8 on the field. That's going to make it a little bit more annoying to deal with, but there is still a line you can play with. But this does open you up to being able to get Nibiru. Because if you don't effect failure here, you're not going to be able to use it anyway and target them, so you kind of have to use it right now anyway. You can use the imperm, negate the effect so it stays at 4. We can still use this to keep our cards safe, because we want to do that before going into our link. Now we can go into our link play. I'm going to use the link that's going to be able to add to hand the Terror Baby. And again, we didn't normal summon for this combo, so we can normal summon the Terror Baby, bring back the Bloody Dowel, use the Little Soldiers, make this Terror Baby an 8, go into the Makina, go into the rank up spell, rank up into the Fanatix Makina, get our Servist Puppet, make it immune to destruction, and we're still going to have, in this case, 4 cards in hand. So that was playing through 1 hand trap. You have 2 interruption plus 3 other cards in hand. Most likely, hand traps in this case, because you had more extenders, you could probably make an even better board with multiple exceeds for even more takes. So again, I think this deck is really solid. You can make some more conservative plays to play around things. You have a FTK that's harder to interact with. And what we're going to do is look at the deck profile, talk about kind of my idea behind building the deck, and also talk about a few weaknesses for the FTK because it's not unbeatable. Alright, so this is the deck template I have for the Gimmick Puppet deck. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I think this is a very solid starting off point for the deck and kind of more based off this format. So depending on when these cards are out and what the format's looking like, you might not necessarily want to be in a hand trap format. Maybe we'll be in a board breaker. We'll have to kind of see. You might have to adjust some of your cards. But the main idea for the deck is, you have a good amount of ways to get to solid starters to make lines. And then you also have a good amount of room for tech cards. So we're playing a lot of hand traps. We have up to 15, and you're pretty much mostly focused on Gimmick Puppets due to just getting locked into the deck. I think there are some generic cards you can potentially consider playing, like Zeus and Typhon, which I think could be notable. Otherwise, you might just play even more Gimmick Puppet cards because you're going to be locked into a lot of these cards throughout most of the game. Right, so in terms of the deck, we're going to have 3 Mansion of the Underworld dolls, 1 Terraforming to get to your mansion, 3 Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 Condolence Puppet, 3 Pot of Prosperity. We have 2 Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms, 3 Gimmick Puppet Bloody Doll, 1 Gimmick Puppet Cattle Stream, 1 Gimmick Puppet Bystials, 1 Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby, 1 Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll, and then we have 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Nibiru, 3 Droll Knockbird, 1 Servist Puppet, and 1 Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force. So overall, the deck is pretty clean, and you don't even have to play too many extenders, and all these extenders are really solid in their own right. 2 of which can make it hard for your opponent to interact with you. By this one, making it so you can banish it and your opponent can't target your Gimmick Puppet monsters with card effects, which can be huge in against a lot of decks. And then this one is when banished, your opponent cannot activate card or effects in response to the activation of Gimmick Puppet effects this turn, which is really nice. In the extra deck, we have 2 Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll, 1 Gimmick Puppet Gigantus Doll, mostly just for the reveal of Bloody Doll, 2 number 40 Gimmick Puppet of Strings, then 2 C40 Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings, 2 number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, we have 2 Gimmick Puppet Fanatix Makina, and then we have 2 CXYZ Gimmick Puppet Fanatix Makina, 1 Zeus, and 1 Typhon. So in terms of ways to counter the deck, the big issue with it really is the field spell. It says, Gimmick Puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, also they are unaffected by your opponent's activated XYZ effects. So this is for monsters you control. So one thing that's nice is you can remove the cards from the graveyard, which can be helpful. So this deck does rely on the graveyard to get cards back, so Shifter can be a really great way to shut out this deck, as well as cards like DD Crow, Ghost Belt, and Bystials. So one thing that might worry me with Bystials though is you are summoning monsters onto your field to be destroyed, so that does give them more options to burn you. But if it is a Druid Swarm, that will let you summon one of their cards. They don't have the field spell up. So that can be still a decent trade. But again, I think all of these cards can really help with kind of stopping the FTK, which can be nice. So again, I don't think the FTK is perfect. And we also have Droll. The deck has a hard time playing with Droll. Another major weakness for the deck. So that's just kind of the deck profile and kind of basic run through. Let me know what you guys think and if you're excited for the deck. This should give you a solid, I think, jumping off point for testing the deck. I think there's some differences you can play in ratios to kind of see what you want to get for. For this, I kind of decided to cut down on the Scissor Arms for more prosperities, just because I want to try to get access to the field spell the best I can, or other cards that I need. But I think there is some work with some of these that could be changed in terms of ratios. All right, well, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and I'll see you there.